Hello, everybody, and welcome to ohmTown Daily News Show, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. I am Mayor Watt, and above me is the visualizer for the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Today is June 8th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 160. Today we're going to be talking about Anker Recall, cheap flights, Oral-B and Alexa, Wholesome Direct, food chains, freighter collides, carbon capture, Apple's AI, Hitman Films, and summer games. That and more. So now we're on the other side of the intro. Let's get into today's articles. We have actually a pretty long day so far. If you've been around today at ohmTown over on Twitch and YouTube, then you've probably seen all of the game showcases that Mayor Watt has been putting on. I've been restreaming what the other showcases have been talking about. So all kinds of new content. That's over at twitch.tv/ohmTown right now. It's waiting to be activated on YouTube. Although I streamed live on both platforms, I make a duplicate of the version for storage that isn't in live, because it's hard to find the live broadcasts of the ohmTown shows. But anyway, we've already done a time machine episode for today, and today's ohmTown Daily News Show for June 8th is this show right now. We've got 3 more shows after that, and that'll take us right up until probably about 11 o'clock. But Reality Hacker, Wanted, and Warcrafters is next. So let's get into today's articles. And this one is kind of a bummer, because I think that we've talked about Anker being a reliable, high-quality product. I have Anker products, and so I've always liked them, but this is the first time that I've run across something citing a manufacturing defect. Anker recalls its 321 power bank due to a fire risk, and if you have the power bank, you should stop using it, according to Anker, and now me too. Anker says it's recalling its 321 power bank, Power Core 5K, model number A1112. citing a fire risk posed by a manufacturing defect. And they talk about what it is. Let me back up real quick. Okay. Let's go over to the article. It's over at The Verge. Hold on a second. There we go. And it says, Wes Davis is the author. The deck statement says, if you've got the model A1112 power bank from Anker, you'll want to stop using it at once. Apparently, the battery will overheat. If you do, Anker urges you to stop using it immediately. Fill out a form, including the serial number, to stake your claim for a replacement 533 power bank the company is offering to affected owners. Try to track down your proof of purchase before you head over there. As it says, it'll speed the process along. And as a reminder, it says, don't throw your batteries away. And this one in particular could spark a fire, I suppose. I don't know what the minutia is about this. It doesn't actually say what the cause is, other than a manufacturing defect. And usually what that takes the form of is there is something, either cathode or anode, some part of it breaks down, causes infiltration, or something grows. It can actually grow like a little fragment that pierces into the battery and causes it, because of impurities, it can cause it to catch fire, essentially.
But I guess if it's too unsafe to keep around, you probably don't want to have it in the trash.
Right. Yeah. Like, put it outside somewhere that's covered in brick, or not on dry soil. You probably don't even want this thing in the house, but definitely don't throw it away, because that'll just give it literally fuel for the fire. Yeah, I would probably seal it inside a bag, like a plastic bag, so moisture can't get in it. And then I would put it on something like cement so that if it does catch fire, it's not going to go somewhere and set a building or bushes or whatever on fire. Yeah, might even return it to the store that you got it from and let it be their problem. Okay,
Well, at the
so
bottom of the article, it cited to another product that is expected to be responsible for a house fire. So
it says here this isn't the only recall Anker has live right now. The company also recalled the 535 power bank last year after it was found to be a likely culprit in a Maryland house fire. Interesting. I don't remember. Maybe we did talk about that one too. I don't know. We usually
I
talk
don't
about
know.
these
That one
things.
doesn't ring a bell.
We usually talk about these things because we do little PSAs for ohmTown. Okay, let's keep going though. Next article's over on ohmTown Daily. We're in the golden age of cheap flights, so why are Americans fed up with ticket prices? Probably because all the people that are associated with it. But let's find out. Adjusting for
Or
inflation.
because they don't have enough price, or they don't have enough money to spend on tickets because they're spending it on everything else.
Yeah, I mean, when a single meal from a fast food place is $20, it's ridiculous. So, adjusting for inflation, airfares are much more affordable than they were nearly 30 years ago, but plenty of Americans refrain frustrated by fright prices.
Remain frustrated.
Remain frustrated by flight prices. Business Insider asked experts why inflation-adjusted airfares have fallen and why some people haven't noticed. Let's find out. So Jacob Zinkula and Madison Hoff put the article together for Business Insider, and we're going to talk about it. So, according to Bureau of Transportation Statistics, the average in 1995, the average U.S. domestic airfare was $292. In 2023, the average fare was $382, up over 30% from 1995. However, the story changes dramatically when adjusting for inflation. In 2023, dollars is actually a 35% decline. So it says,
yeah, but they used to include things like baggage in the airfares, and they don't now.
And I wonder if there were fewer people on each flight then as well.
Probably because they had more flights going, I believe.
Yeah. Scott Keys, an airline industry expert and founder of travel membership service Going.com, said that there's little doubt in their mind that people think airfare is at historic highs and getting more expensive. But I don't care. It's not getting...
No, wait.
Go ahead.
People don't think of it in inflation. They think of it in actual dollars. And if
Right.
they're used to spending X amount on a ticket, and now they look at the ticket price and go, that's however much above what I'm used to spending, they think they're spending more, and they are spending more.
It doesn't make any sense to me to use inflationary terms when you're talking about something being temporally bound. I can't buy a 1995 flight in 2023 dollars.
Exactly. And if I don't have whatever it was, $300 and some to spend on a ticket, it's still $300 and some. It's not like I get to do some calculation and not use that many dollars.
Yeah, I can't sit in 1995 and say to myself, in 2024, I'm going to want to buy a flight that's $300. Let me sock away that $300 now so that I have it, inflation terms, growing so that I can buy that flight. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's not just me, is it?
It is not just you.
So it says additionally, Mike Daher, Daher? I don't know. Hardly know her. A transportation expert at Deloitte, or is it Deloitte? Which way do you... Deloitte. Said in a report published, I know that, anyway, in May, there was a report that there's a perception that airfares and room rates are high and some Americans are sitting out travel this summer as they look for softer pricing. But no, they want value for their money, and they don't think a flight and a room are worth it because it's It isn't the room and the flight that's expensive. It's every other freaking thing is expensive. So why would I
Do you
travel?
want a seat? Do you want to carry on? Do you want to, whatever? It's all additional.
Like the second drink is expensive or whatever. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff. In January, a federal judge blocked the JetBlue Spirit Airlines merger after the Biden administration raised concerns about the impact it would have on flight prices. Again, mergers and acquisitions are a losing scenario for anybody who is a consumer. It sucks for the employer, the employee as well. Basically, mergers and acquisitions only do one thing. It consolidates power, money, and influence in the top tier, the C-suite, and the stockholders. And while a lot of stockholders are like, yay, more money for me, you're the consumer that's getting the shit end of that again in every other merger and acquisition. And I will bet anybody out there $1. That's my limit. I will bet anybody out there $1. The moment that some merger and acquisition hits you personally, you lose your freaking mind. And you know what that is? That's sociopathy. That's being a hypocrite. If you're not understanding that other people are impacted by your decisions, it's sociopathic and selfish. But again, let me tell you, the moment that somebody sits there and says, hey, these two sports teams are merging ownership, and now the ticket prices for the stadiums that they play at is going up $500. You're going to lose your freaking mind. But everywhere else, it doesn't matter, so you don't care. Right? Anyway. Still, the overall decline in actual airfare prices over the last 2 years suggests passenger demand seems to have subsided, but it's not declined so much, it's stagnating because people aren't flying.
And it's not declining if it's just declining when you do calculations. And
Right.
plus, just because it spiked in 2023 and then has come down a little bit from there, doesn't mean it's overall down.
Right. In fact, the reason why it's down is because people are tired of it. They don't want to pay the high price. They don't think that the friction is worth it. I wouldn't take a flight. That's for damn sure. I wasn't absolutely required to. And in this day and age, I can go anywhere. It's called the internet. I don't have to go somewhere. Honestly, there's some places that I would love to go, but this just doesn't make any sense. It does in the academic, clinical sense of understanding adjustments for inflation and all of that kind of stuff. But the price of a ticket has gone down because people aren't taking flights. Not that it's inflationary terms gone down. If more and more people, if the same level of increasing of flight taking started in 1995 and kept on growing 10%, a ticket would be $1,000, not $250. Why? Because the greedy bastards would still keep on increasing so that they can get more and more juice from the stone. Blood from the stone, juice from the orange. They would squeeze. Why? Because you have a little money in your bank account and the greedy bastards can't let you have that. No. The whole adage, greed is good, right? Reaganomics. This is all bullshit. You don't have to be a greedy bastard. Okay, folks? Step away from it. Go touch some grass. So why flights have become more affordable? Airline industry experts told BI that one of the biggest factors driving down inflation-adjusted airfares, kiss my ass, is the rise of lower-cost budget airlines. I think people are just tired of the flights.
But that is a misnomer. If you look at the budget airfare prices, they are low. But when you start tacking on additional fees, you might be above the non-budget airline prices.
They say, according to analysis of Department of Transportation data by the Trade Association Airlines for America, by 2023, their share of passengers had fallen to 52% as lower cost airlines like Southwest, JetBlue, Spirit, and Frontier emerged. Except that, well, Southwest, I don't think is really budget, but what lowered the price is competition. This development led to the cheaper fares throughout. The airline insiders call the Southwest effect, but Southwest actually, I think, is a great plane to fly on. I don't know
Yeah,
if I
but
would.
there's a lot of people that don't because they had that I forgot what year it was. It was 2023 or 2022, but they had like a massive problem like with flight cancellations
Oh,
around the
right.
holidays and
Yeah. Well, a lot of people. So, in addition to having more planes in their fleets than they used to, airlines have retired smaller planes in recent decades and replaced them with larger aircraft. In 2005, 11% of commercial airplanes had at least 151 seats compared to 48% as of 2023. Larger planes, better fuel efficiency, more seats are lowering the overall flight costs for airlines, and those savings are being passed on to travelers. Bullshit. No, they're still, I bet you, well, no, I don't know. I'd have to go and look at the numbers again. But I don't recall them ever. The only time that they've ever really suffered is because, first off, it's expensive to land in an airport. Fuel is very expensive, but that's really largely out of their control. And then if people aren't flying, they still have to make some flights because you have to rotate the planes around to fulfill certain flights elsewhere. So if anybody is flying from one place to another and you've got that ticket, then you got to fly. If they start canceling it, you're going to get a bad rep and the company is going to go under. But this only happened because of the pandemic. The pandemic is what really canned their profitability, and only for those given years. Now I'm sure that there was money given to the airlines to stay afloat during the pandemic. It's all part of the stimulus bills that came out of the pandemic. And guess who didn't get them? Not everybody got them. If you were making enough money, you weren't screwed enough. So anyway, if airline prices are more affordable than they used to be, there could be several explanations why Americans remain frustrated. And this was the nuts and bolts of this whole article that I wanted to get to. They say it's also possible that after airfare prices plummeted due to a pandemic, 2022 swift rise in airfares caught Americans off guard. Airfares rose roughly 43% compared to the prior year. Again, match that with what I said earlier. If demand was detected soon enough that it was going to go through the roof, they could jack the prices up. And that's exactly what they did. They saw demand coming and they said, let's jack the prices up.
right, and that had to have been like the post like pandemic travel
Yeah.
revenge or whatever, right? Nobody
Yeah.
had traveled and so everybody was clamoring.
Yeah, and that was actually known that it was coming because people were starting to book flights and they jacked up the prices as they could. Supply and demand mechanics and elasticity of demand as well. They could jack up the prices until their profit margins were 30%, or their profitability, their return on the investment was 30 to 40%. This year, United, American, and Delta have each raised their checked bag fees because now you're a captured audience. You have to pay that if you want to bring clothes. Yeah,
Well, it's getting worse than that. There's fees for carry-on bags on some airlines.
Oh, God. The Airlines for American analysis found that including fees for baggage and reservation fees, the average U.S. round-trip ticket was $406 in 2023. But this is average. You got to be careful about average anything because there's going to be some that are wildly expensive and some that are not because the hub that you're flying into makes it expensive. I've flown into places where it's $200, the same exact distance, but in an extremely popular airport was $1,000. So
Exactly. It's not based on like fuel prices or anything like that.
right. There's a lot of other fees. Like it's a fee to land the plane. Yeah.
Which is really ridiculous, right? Because isn't that kind of the nature of air travel? We do want a landing.
Yeah. It's up. You didn't pay it. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Oral-B takes Alexa feature away from its toothbrush base 4 years after selling them. It says, here we are again with yet another in the series of posts describing how In these here modern times, you simply don't actually own the things you've bought. This sort of thing takes many forms, of course. Sometimes the digital media you bought gets disappeared by a platform after a licensing deal runs out. Sometimes the hardware you bought turns into a relatively expensive brick because the company you bought it from decides to stop supporting the devices entirely. And if you're curious about any of these things, please come and talk to us here at ohmTown.com.
Also, watch our previous episodes where we've talked about things like the Spotify car thing.
Yep.
And digital movies and other things.
And books being pulled, and games being killed, and cover art for your movies that you've purchased changing randomly because somebody decided to wake up and go, I need to change the cover art.
And stop killing games.
And stop killing games. Stop killing games. Sometimes the hardware you bought turned into a relatively expensive brick, right? So that's where we left off. And as Sony made famous with its PlayStation 3, sometimes a company simply decides to disappear a feature. By the way, we have a feature over at ohmTown here on Twitch, twitch.tv/ohmTown. If you hit !ODNS, it'll give you all of the show notes for the day's article. Well, for that show's articles. It changes every time, so every episode. And if you hit !show notes, it'll do that. By the way, this also gets broadcast over to YouTube, so it'll display over there as well. So you can follow the links from that. And when you hit that !show notes, it gives you the link for all of the other shows that we have. And this weekend we've got, well, it's 8 shows, but 7 of them are unique shows. On Saturday and Sunday, ohmTown Daily News Show. There's an ohmTown Daily News Show on Saturday and an ohmTown Daily News Show that is unique on Sunday. But then you have Reality Hacker, Wanted, and Warcrafters on Saturday. That's today. And then on Sunday, you have the Continuity Report, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech. Okay. And again, all of those are unique. 6 of them are weekly, and 1 is a daily. ohmTown Daily News Show. It's in the name. All right, folks. So what about this Oral-B? Tech Dirt put this article together, and they are always coming up with great departments that they write from. This one is by Timothy Gaynor. Alexa, how do I refund my toothbrush department? Okay, I didn't get any responses.
Their departments.
Yep. That's where this one is being written from. So, well, that last and oldest example appears to be the most analogous to what Oral-B just did to its customers with some of its toothbrushes, which came with a charging base that you could connect to Amazon Alexa. They basically
that's what I definitely want, is Amazon having access to my
toothbrush
tooth data.
Oral-B released the guide for $230 in August 2020, but bricked the ability to set up or reconfigure Alexa on the product this February. As of this writing, the guide is still available through a third-party Amazon seller, but the guide is supposed to sit there and help you with your Oral-B toothbrush habits. Then in February of this year, Oral-B simply took the feature away entirely. Where there was once an app that you could use to connect the base to your Alexa, that feature in the app is no longer available. For those who had it previously set up with Alexa, the base will work right up until the point that it drops its internet connection, after which it will no longer connect.
Well.
Is there really anything else you can say? I mean, if I were to put together a group of people, maybe that's what I should do. I should contact Timothy Gaynor and Andy Chalk and a few other people and put together a show where we're basically like the Muppets, the Statler and Waldorf, and we just heckle the hell out of everything from the show, because this is ridiculous. I mean, but I'm not angry. I'm like dad, right? I'm like a dad. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed because this is bullshit. Because when you go and appeal to somebody, particularly in the UK now, hey, they just bricked my toothbrush base that did nothing but contact Alexa. They go, well, a company isn't required to provide services forever. Well, you've got my money forever. So,
Exactly. Like I bought what I bought. Now it doesn't exist in the same form.
right. Yeah. So why isn't that a violation of the contract? And I don't have for sale doctrine because I can't sit there and sell this product because it's no longer as it was. I didn't modify it. You asshats did. So it says this is all starting to sound like the Spotify car thing. Hey, you were vindicated. They brought it up.
Hooray.
But either way, there really should be some sort of consumer rights associated with not having a product that is purchased suddenly lose features along at any time after its purchase. In the meantime, they'll have to go back to singing in the shower, they suppose, because they used to use this guide toothbrush to play music. Yeah, it's frustrating. And my problem, like I've had products do this too, and you just kind of go, okay, fine, you know, it wasn't that big of an expense. But I've actually had software do that, where I've purchased a lifetime license, and then the developer goes, I'm not going to sell it anymore. I'm not going to update it anymore. I'm going to start on another product, and it's very, very close to what it is now.
But it's definitely different.
But it's different, right? One person actually sold the license to the competitor and is working for the competitor, providing the same exact service.
Pretty questionable consumer practices.
All right. Well, anyway, so Oral-B. Yeah, sticking it to you in the Oral-B. All right. Well, anyway, the next article is over in Wanted, which is a show about gear and gadgets. Wholesome Direct surprise game releases has a typo in its title, but that's okay. We'll just move on. During today's Wholesome Direct stream, 4 brand new indie titles were shadow dropped live during the stream. The 4 were Tracks of Thought, Pool, The Place on the Hill, and Kamaru, A Frog Refuge. I already have some of these in my wish list, or watch list, I should say. Jesse Lennox.
I thought the surprise release was going to be the letter E.
Oh, look at you. By the way, they changed the title of the article entirely. You can get these 4 surprise releases from the Wholesome Direct today. The Wholesome Direct showed, I don't know why they call it the Wholesome Direct.
The Ohio State.
Either call it the Wholesome Direct Showcase, Games Showcase, or call it Wholesome Direct. Wholesome Direct showed off over 70 games to look forward to, but you don't have to wait to play these 4. By the way, I covered this, and if you go watch the VOD for Wholesome Direct, every time a new game comes on the screen, I typed out the title of that game so that you know exactly what game it is, and you can then go do a search for that over on Steam and watch list the whole thing. And you know what? Steam needs to create watch lists that are like, right now there's just one massive watch list. They need to have the ability to create individual lists. Anyway, Jesse Lennox over at Pocket Lint, or pocket-lint.com, for crying out loud, put this article together. So here's the cool ones, right? Available now via Steam. Grab these 4 wholesome games today. I'm really into the wholesome game kind of a thing. I really like that kind of chill, laid back, don't go crazy.
It's like cozy games, right?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So Tracks of Thought is described as a card-based talk 'em up, and looks exactly like that. You play a cute little ladybug in a world populated by bugs. The whole event is an hour long. I don't know why they say 573 grams right there. The net weight is 2024. Haha. it's 2024, right? But what is the 573G? That has to be an Easter egg, right? Or they just threw 573 in there.
Or maybe it's the conversion?
So from what? 2024?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Okay, so Tracks of Thought seems like a cool game. The one that I really like is Pool. You actually, it's a bunch of balls, and you drag back and hit a ball, and you hope that it combines with a ball of the same size and it pops into a bigger ball. There are these games that you play where the objective is to combine the ball or the thing, whatever the object, with its equal so that it merges together and becomes something else, and you keep on doing that. And this is a pool version of it. So instead of things falling down, you're playing on a horizontal, like a billiard ball table or a pool table. But this has 4 O's in it because there's already a game that has 3 O's in it, and another one that has
I see.
2 O's. Yeah, Place
So
on the Hill.
should we watch for the sequel with 5?
5, yes. It's like, have you ever heard of 7-Minute Abs? Well, I can beat it because I got 6-minute abs. You got to go and watch. There's Something About Mary. It's a funny movie. Is it from the 80s? No, it's a 90s. No, 2000s.
I don't know
When is
what
it from?
decade it's from. It's later than the 80s.
Yeah, it makes me feel old. Yeah, it's definitely older, or it's younger than the 80s. Yeah. Anyway, last up, Camaro, a frog refuge. Another farming sim, but the focus this time is on preserving and restoring natural wetlands for local frogs. There are over 500 frogs to breed, collect, raise, photograph. It's all indie games. It's pretty neat. There's a lot of competition out there. I mean, apps have been doing this frog simulation stuff for a while, collecting frogs, breeding them, etc. I remember playing these back like early iPhone 7 days. But there you go.
I mean, I guess everybody loves frogs, so.
Not everybody. Sometimes they're attached to a box and it freaks you out. I don't want to talk about it. So the next article is over on the Mobile channel. Will food chains break as seasons become more unpredictable? Yes. There are really 4 dimensions, begins the narrator of The Time Machine, H.G. Wells' classic Victorian adventure novel. 3 of which we call the 3 planes of space, and a 4th, time. Ooh, temporology, folks. The study, the science and science fiction of time and time travel. That's temporology. Humans cannot help but think of time as somehow different, perhaps because, as the narrator muses, we continuously move in one direction along it from the beginning to the end of our lives. Jamie C. Weir from The Conversation. They post a lot into phys.org. I find it fascinating.
There must be some sort of existing relationship between the two.
Yep. They use Unsplash as well sometimes. So that's Unsplash is kind of like a free, semi-free image.
Kind of like stock photos, but
either low or no pricing.
Public domain or whatever. Yeah.
You just have to give credit. So this limitation affects how we see nature. We can fail to appreciate that for living things struggling to survive. Environmental conditions change through both space and time. Consider a plant growing on a windswept field or a mountain versus a sheltered valley, or in the gentle summer sun versus the height of winter. To survive, animals and plants must adapt to all 4 dimensions of their environment. I don't really find that a truthful statement. Not a truthful statement, but it's an overstatement of time, because you don't have to worry about time as long as you can shelter from the environment. You don't have to worry about time. Particularly animals, because they're aware of it, but instinctively, as far as we as humans understand it. But humans, we know our mortality is on the horizon, so we have to get a lot of shit done in a short amount of time. We have on average 80 years.
Right. I mean, animals certainly need to adapt so that they can continue their species, but an individual animal isn't necessarily concerned with time.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And I really doubt that they're looking up at the sun going, oh, it's noon. So many animals, for example, will mate in autumn and winter so that their offspring are born in pleasant springtime conditions. But that is, I think, more along the lines of instinct and genetic memory than it is them looking at a watch going, oh, I need to go and reproduce, so I'm off to the club. So it says nature is flexible. Ecologists have studied nature's synchronized timings in one food chain in particular, temperate woodlands like I think it's Witham or Whittam. I think it's Whittam Woods in Oxfordshire, England, or Oxfordshire. In this example, there are 3 synchronized levels in a food chain. The success of the insects, birds depend on getting their timing right. But again, this is a natural progression where the genetics have led to the instinct of this happening at this time. There is no way in hell that there are bugs. What are the broods that are about to pop out?
Oh, cicada.
Yeah, cicadas are not sitting there going, okay, everybody, it's that time. Start to pop out. It just doesn't. It's a
just
weird.
Their natural life cycle.
Yeah. And things are triggered by the environment themselves. That's why if nature gets thrown out of whack through anthropomorphic climate change, you'll end up with oranges that don't grow in time for picking, right? They freeze over because frost blows through and destroys all of the tomatoes. And then it becomes perfect for growing, and there's an overabundance. And humans sit there and suffer the consequences by self-induced economic problems, like what happened in India, where they started throwing out so many tomatoes because there were too many on the market and they weren't worth, anything. So only humans really suffer from the time impact of environment, and I don't really think that the rest of it matters. We can adapt to everything except time. Time always marches forward regardless. So they talk about weak links. Climate change will stretch many species to a breaking point, but some are better able to withstand the strains than others. But it's not about withstanding it. It's their genetics, survival of the fittest, evolution, or adaptation. Adaptation turns into evolution, essentially, because if all of the ones that can't adapt die, then the only ones that do move forward are the ones that were able to adapt. And so their genetic offspring may have that adaptation. In variable environments, species with less specialized diets or habitat needs are more likely to thrive. Specialists succeed by outperforming their more generalist competitors in a narrow set of conditions, but those conditions change. Should those conditions change, they'll find themselves dangerously out of place. We've actually seen that before with animals where, actually, we just talked about that fern. It has the largest genome.
Oh, right. And by far.
Yeah. And they are saying, scientists that are doing research on it are saying that it could be subject to extinction because it takes more power to manage this massive genome. Except that it's been doing fine until we messed with it. So now what's going to happen? The chicken before the egg kind of a scenario here. If we would have left it the hell alone, and we didn't change the Earth with our climate change, maybe it would be as prosperous as ever. So they talk about in this article the green oak tortrix caterpillar, for example, a common pest which is widely eaten by birds, feeds on oak leaves alone. Its populations may lose out to increasingly uncertain seasons with consequences for the entire ecosystem. Yeah, those birds are going to have to find something else to eat, and if they can't, then they die off. Odds on the ones that adapt will survive and teach their young, this is what you eat, not this, because this doesn't exist anymore. And that is survival of the fittest. That's just nature. So I don't think time plays a role because animals are not aware of it. They just live through instinct. Am I wrong? Could I be wrong?
I mean, you could be wrong, but I don't think you are.
Well, that was an easy conversation. You want to move on to the next article?
I mean, we don't know. I think everything seems to be instinct. I don't think animals are tracking time, but I think as a species, they are adapting.
We're talking about the other article. Never mind. Hey, the article actually has Twitter. It's listed as Twit right next to the icon for the website formerly known as Twitter.
That's funny. Okay. Nobody can deal with the new name.
No, because it's dumb. All right, the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. A freighter ship decided that it wanted to make a dinghy, I guess, by dinging something underwater, according to the Coast Guard. The title of this, without me being so goofy about it, is A Freighter Ship in Lake Superior Collided with Something Underwater, Coast Guard says. A U.S. Coast Guard...
Do you think it's like an old shipwreck or something?
I don't know. We're going to find out, though. The U.S. Coast Guard says a freighter in Lake Superior has hit something underwater and started taking on water. All right, so when you click the link, it takes you over to ABC News. Let me just pause this. The Associated Press is where this is from, but it's at abcnews.go.com. The video has nothing to do with the article, so let's just move on. The Coast Guard Great Lakes District received reports about 6:53 a.m. It's about 6:53 a.m. It seems pretty precise.
It must have been 6:53 a.m. in 3 seconds.
That's right. Or give or take a couple of nanoseconds.
Right.
That a 689 foot long in freedom units or 210 meter long in socialist units, right? Am I doing that wrong? Probably.
I think that's right. I'm just trying to figure out how to pronounce the ship name.
Ship. Yeah. Ship called Michipikoten had collided with something about 35 miles southwest of Isle Royale, which is maybe they had a battle royale off the coast of Isle Royale. Which is part of the state of Michigan. The ship was carrying taconite, which is a low-grade iron ore, and had 22 people on board. Now only 20 because it hit so hard that 2 people... Just kidding. I have no idea what actually.
That's kind of dire.
Yeah. So water pumps on board started displacing water, reduced the listing of the ship from 15 degrees to 5 degrees because it was taking on so much water. Helicopter and boat crews were responding around 12:30 p.m. Coast Guard said half of the people on board had been evacuated from the vessel for safety. The ship was on its way to a port for inspection and repairs. The collision in the northwest part of the lake, which straddles the U.S.-Canadian border and is the largest freshwater lake in the world by surface area. So they don't know what it is that it hit. I say that it's a Russian submarine.
In the Great Lakes. How did it get there?
You know that dude that kayaked from like Kentucky?
Oh yes. Arkansas, I think.
That's right, from Arkansas.
Where he started. Somewhere landlocked.
Yeah, I think that he carried a Russian submarine into the Great Lakes. It's either that or
that
aliens.
Would not be crazier than the rest of the story.
Well, we don't even know what the result of this is. It doesn't say. The collision occurred, They don't say what it is that it hit. So what did it hit that would actually do enough damage?
And why did half of the people have to stay on board?
One guy was really, really heavy. Okay, let's go on to the next article. Technology, it's either that or aliens. Something. Yeah, there's an alien ship in there. They need fresh water too. Technology today is where the next article is. Carbon capture breakthrough. Cambridge's new material for direct air CO2 absorption. Cambridge researchers have developed a new low-energy carbon capture tech using charged activated charcoal capable of absorbing CO2 directly from the air more effectively than conventional methods. But we've been using charged activated charcoal for cleaning the air, but not necessarily CO2. So what have they done? What have they done? And did they ask, could we and should we? Dun, dun, dun. University of Cambridge. The article's posted at SciTech Daily. I keep forgetting that we're going to have 3 more shows after this. I should probably get my hustle on. Researchers at the University of Cambridge. Charged charcoal sponge is also potentially more energy efficient than current carbon capture approaches, since it requires much lower temperatures to remove the captured CO2 so it can be stored. The results are reported in the journal Nature. This is one of those articles that goes really into the deep end of the tech pool, so I'll try and skim over it. The team used a battery-like charging process to charge an inexpensive activated charcoal cloth with hydroxide ions. In this process, the cloth essentially acts like an electrode in a battery, and hydroxide ions accumulate in the tiny pores of the charcoal. At the end of the charging process, the charcoal is removed from the battery, washed and dried. Tests of the charged charcoal sponge showed that it could successfully capture CO2 directly from the air thanks to the bonding mechanism of the hydroxides.
But then where do you put the CO2 after that?
You do like Iceland, and you bury it in rocks waiting for the next volcanic eruption to melt all that CO2 out. So to collect the CO2 from the charcoal so it can be purified and stored, the material is heated to reverse the hydroxide CO2 bonds. In most materials currently used for CO2 capture from the air, the materials need to be heated to a temperature as high as 900 degrees C. Holy cow! That's hotter than anything that I use in the furnace to melt aluminum and other metals. I'll leave it there. Often using natural gas. So that's interesting.
I see. So while you're solving something, you're perpetuating it.
Correct. Yeah. However, the charged charcoal sponges developed by the Cambridge team only require heating to 90 to 100 degrees C. Temperatures that can be achieved using renewable electricity. The materials are heated through resistive heating, which essentially heats them from the inside out, making the process faster and less energy intensive. That's interesting too. So basically the stuff just falls off. The materials do, however, have limitations that the researchers are now working on. We're working on now to increase the quantity of carbon dioxide that can be captured, and in particular under humid conditions where our performance decreases. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, more of this is needed.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to scrub the air because CO2 is the major contributor to greenhouse gases. And if we can just scrub the air of CO2, and then if we have the material, then maybe we can find some other use for it. But if we're always going to keep on using CO2 and releasing it into the air, then we're doing ourselves
right. And we can't wait till we stop using CO2. Like, it's going to be too late then.
Yep. Then it goes back to all of the die-offs for adaptation, the genetic memory of where to go get food or how to survive in a changing environment, et cetera, et cetera. We just got done talking about food chains breaking because of climate change. So let's keep going though. Next article is over in Late Night Geeks. Apple needs to focus on making AI useful, not flashy. And this has to be kind of an opinion piece. So I'm going to go straight on over to TechCrunch.com, which is where this is. Ivan Mehta is the author of this. Because Worldwide Developers Conference is right around the corner, it's expected to mark the debut of Apple Intelligence, not artificial intelligence, Apple Intelligence, AI. But
Oh, have they rebranded what AI means?
wouldn't be the first time that they've adopted something that's precariously close to something else. So reliability first. Apple makes some of the most popular devices on the planet, and its AI features should start like Apple Vision Pro instead of VR, right? Anyway, a lot of AI powered features rely on going back to the cloud to get answers or inputs back. However, if Apple manages to run some useful features locally on device, users might ditch the cloud-based tools in favor of always available AI. Offline transcriptions and the voice memo and notes app could fill that bill. They want privacy. That's what they talk about in this article. Improving Siri, which is the dumbest smart speaker. You didn't hear me, did you? Okay, it didn't answer.
Watch out, it's going to take revenge.
Yeah, I didn't say the keywords. But Siri, Apple's smart speaker is like the dumbest thing that I've ever worked with. If you ask the assistant to set a 10-minute timer and a 5-minute timer, you'll get one for 15 minutes instead, which I totally believe, but I haven't done that. So if you wait a little bit and then set another timer, maybe you'll get another timer. I don't know. Or it'll add 5 minutes to the 13 minutes that was already set.
Or you can set a timer and ask it if it has a timer, and it says no, but it does have a timer.
Yeah, that one was really hilarious. Like, well, wait, that one was just set. Anyway, rumors on the street will announce a deal with OpenAI to power AI features across its operating systems. It remains to be seen how much of Apple Intelligence will be built onto that deal. Given AI's hallucination problems, Apple may not want to be directly involved in content-related AI features just yet. I agree. I also don't think that this article really needed to be... This is an article that was looking for a problem. It's an answer to a problem that doesn't exist. Apple will not make AI flashy. So their whole goal is to make it frictionless, seamless, where it doesn't impact your life at all. And that's why the speaker is so stupid, because if it did anything of, punching above its weight, it would have failed its customers and a bad reputation. I mean, it's got a bad reputation already because it's kind of dumb. But yeah, this article is kind of picking a fight where there is no real...
Before there's a fight to be picked.
Correct. Yeah. Because I don't think it's going to be flashy. I just think that it's going to answer questions better. My fear is that it's going to be dumb still because it hallucinates and you can't trust it.
Right. But I mean, Apple definitely focuses on what its products look like.
Right.
But it depends on how they're going to incorporate it. Like if AI is just software or something.
Yeah.
Then I think that's exactly as you're describing.
Well, we've got Reality Hacker, Wanted, and Warcrafters. And in one of those three, we're going to be talking about AI quite a bit. You can guess which one.
I think it's Warcrafters.
Wait.
Oh, it's Reality Hacker.
So the next article is over in the continuity report. I wanted to change things up. 10 hitmen in film who are really bad at their jobs. I thought that would be a change of pace. This might actually end up in another show because I think that this might be funny. But I haven't even looked at it. So hitmen are an essential part of the action thriller formula. Good guys try to stop bad guy. Bad guy puts a hit on the good guy. Good guy dispatches the goons before the final confrontation with bad guy. That's the plot of basically every James Bond movie, right? Occasionally you get a play on the formula. So, it's a slideshow. These professionals couldn't shoot their way out of a paper bag. Jen Lennon and Jim Varell put the article together for avclub.com. So we're going to do the slideshow, I guess, and list the slides. Or not. All right. Guess we're going to go one by one. Let's see it. Did it work? No. Well, that's ARC for you. So, Pulp Fiction, Vincent Vega getting shot just as you're leaving the bathroom is an undignified way to die in general, but it stings a lot more when you're supposed to be a professional hitman.
Oh, wow. So the hitman got taken out.
In Bruges, you were going to kill me scene. Some people just aren't cut out for the hitman life, and Ray, Colin Farrell, is one of them. He messed up his very first job, and he messed it up bad. He was supposed to kill a priest, but ended up killing, well, somebody else. I can't even say this out loud. Anyway, that, according to his boss, was unforgivable. In Hitman and on Netflix, Gary Johnson isn't quite like other hitmen on the list. He's not actually a hitman at all. He's a college professor working undercover for the police, setting up a sting operation where he just pretends to be a hitman in order to entrap would-be criminals. Well, that's kind of interesting. They use the word that you're not allowed to do, entrapment. Anyway, it says it's a fun movie. It's a fun setup for a movie. I don't know how that would work out. These are kind of, some of these movies I would probably watch, right? Like this one, Hitman, I might watch because it's about a college professor working undercover for police. If it's funny.
I mean, it's a different premise.
Yeah. And Dumb and Dumber, don't even need to say anything about it. The guy in between them, I think, is the hitman. Yeah. Look, it's easy enough to understand. It's not exactly condone the desire of Mental to immediately rub out Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn when he's picked up by them as a hitchhiker in the course of their cross-country journey to Aspen. But he has a heart condition or something like that. They drive him nuts. Then there's Fargo, which there's a wood chipper scene.
There's a lot of dark humor in Fargo.
I, Tonya, Derek Smith, and Shane Stant were never supposed to kill Nancy Kerrigan, but they were trying to injure her, which they did by hitting her in the knee with a baton. There were layers upon layers of incompetence here. And then Tony and Joey in Midnight Run. They slipped through the fingers of these hitmen time and time again. Particularly, the indignity of these two clowns is that they work for a mob boss. They should, by all rights, be the best hitman in the game. That's not true. Grand Budapest Hotel, which is actually a really fun movie to watch. In Dimitri's defense, it's not exactly what you would call a trained hitman. Indeed, he's typically no real need to be one himself, not that he employs the services of genuinely terrifying J.G. Jopling, Willem Dafoe, to stalk and murder the family members of servants or disapproving local lawyers. Interesting. I'm going to have to go and we're going to have to watch the Grand Budapest Hotel again. It's been a while. Burke and Stokes, Death to Smoochie, which if you've never seen that, it's an interesting watch. They got the wrong rhino. That's the most distilled version of what happens to TV exec Marianne Frank Stokes and talent agent Burke Bennett. Plot to kill a children's show host, Sheldon Mopes, Edward Norton, aka Smoochie the Rhino. Yeah. And then as a well-played game of chess from The Simpsons, Fernando Vidal from The Simpsons, the world's most devious assassin. When he leaps through his Rolodex to find someone to take out Grandpa Simpson in pursuit of the Hellfish Bonanza. But we should keep in mind that this is the same nuclear power plant owner who believes Al Jolson and Mordecai Three Finger Brown are still alive, which you have to be into The Simpsons to even care about that. So I lingered on this. The takeaway is go watch Grand Budapest Hotel. That's the only one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's keep going. I don't even want to talk about it. So the next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. The biggest announcements and trailers from the 2024 Summer Gaming Showcases. The parade of 2024 Summer Gaming Showcases has begun. Yay! I'm actually down 2, so I'm going to try and fit them in. I don't know when I'm going to be able to. Tomorrow I've got, there's showcases, and we've got 4 shows, and I know that I got to do the Devolver one, and I have to do the Future Games Showcase, which I missed today. But that was actually, both of those were intentional. But this is the biggest announcements and trailers from the 2024 Summer Gaming Showcases. So we can play some catch up, I suppose. So Tyler Wilde over at PCGamer.com put the article together. These are all the big reveals from Sony, Microsoft, Summer Game Fest, the PC Gaming Show, and more. I actually have several of these in the VOD list here on Twitch, and they're over on YouTube, but in the live section, not in the playlist. Let's see here. Big announcement. Civilization 7 is coming in 2025. Let's see.
At the top, you can select different showcases if you want.
Yeah, I think that they go through it like straight down, right? Yeah, okay. So God of War Ragnarok on PC. Yeah, Summer Game Fest says Civilization 7 is coming in 2025, and then there's a whole bunch of other games. The Indie Showcase, it says it's been a great year for action roguelikes. Tenjitsu is listed here, even putting aside Hades 2. It's been a strong year for action roguelike genre. The Rogue Prince of Persia, Windblown. They also announced Tenjitsu. It's not a it says it here that it's not a roguelike, but 2D platformer Possessors looks pretty good too. And they've got a bunch of other games, and then they say the like the Xbox showcases on June 9th at 9 a.m. The PC gaming show is on at 1 p.m. These are Pacific. So you can see how ohmTown is going to be kind of overwhelmed tomorrow with doing these as well, because we'll be covering Ubisoft, however you want to pronounce it, the PC gaming show and the Xbox game showcase, because they cross over from the console to PC. And I'm not a console gamer.
So did you see the game Bogdan's Cross is a game about a Templar Knight / teddy bear?
Yes. Let's see. There's a lot. So I actually covered the accessibility showcase. Let's see. Oh, Cult of Lamb is getting co-op. That's fascinating. I don't remember. Oh my gosh, which one is this? It says indie showcases.
That's the one.
Oh, Future Game Show. This is the one that I didn't cover yet.
Right.
So, meh. Don't look, everybody.
Don't look.
I'm naked. I'm not. Anyway, so if you want to get a jump start on Future Game Show, then follow the link through ohmTown. It's real easy. It's right there, and all you have to do is click on Visit the Source. Or you can go over to PC Gamer straight away. Tyler Wilde put the article together. But that's it. Did you want to see any of these games there, AI?
Well, I mean, I think if we tried all these games, I think, as I mentioned earlier, we'd be at the next year's set of showcases.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of things listed here, and I know these are just highlights.
Yep.
I mean, look at there's individual kind of articles or blurbs for multiple things here.
Yeah, this will keep you going. Power Rangers game is coming. Silent Hill creators' next game, Slitterhead, is on the way. Phantom Blade Zero is on the way. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 had a really wild trailer. It was like a mini movie. Dark and Darker has returned to Steam. And there's something else about Dark and Darker. I don't know. I can't remember now. New trailer for Renaissance Souls-like Anotria is out. Skate was the second skating game that I've seen.
So Dark and Darker was like a player versus environment.
Yeah. And it actually got pulled off of Steam because of legal battle with somebody that was tied to the developer of Dark and Darker. They said that they took assets and other technology from the previous employer. I don't know how all that shook out, but largely a he said, she said kind of thing, or they said. It's not correct to say he said, she said kind of thing anymore. But yeah. Anyway, more showcases are coming. Mayor Watt will definitely be there tomorrow for many of them. I do have some mayoral duties, so I might have to pick my battles, but other than that, that's it. So let's jump back up to Main Street. We're gonna take our own sweet time moseying back this time, but with this new format for how I put the show together, I can snap back to the front page really quick. Anyway, I'm not going to refresh. That said, we are done for ohmTown Daily News Show for June 8th, 2024. Thank you very much. Again, I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI from the future is about to say bye.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for ohmTown Daily. Stay tuned for our weekly shows.
Reality Hacker Wanted and Warcrafters. I don't know if we'll be able to get Warcrafters done today, but stick around so that you can be informed when we go live. See you soon. It's getting dark and darker. Oh, my eyes are closed.